Hello and welcome to Mumbai Se Manchester. This is the weekly recap of all things Manchester United. And in this video, we'll be talking about the West Brom game, how City have continued their form, Upamecano's move to Bayern, and the upcoming Europa League games, and a few more talking points. So, Saurabh, welcome. What do you think? West Brom game has ended in a 1-1 draw. What are your first thoughts?
Uh, 2 points dropped, obviously. Effectively, this means that we were in the title race for 2 weeks, and we got all excited about it. But it is disappointing that we have dropped points, but it was a terrible performance from the team and an even worse performance by the referee. I think we were playing against 12 men. Referee was nothing went our way. The penalty, even small decisions like corners, and obviously their goal was it was an obvious foul. The striker had his face on Lindelof's eyes. How could I mean? How could you expect a defender with his eyes closed try to block a cross? It was ridiculous. I think VAR disappointed us again tonight. But despite all of that, we should have taken 3 points. And we keep saying this: we should have taken 3 points. But I think slowly but surely we are coming back to our reality that we are a top four side. We are a very good side, but we still have major deficiencies. Uh, I'm disappointed, but I also can recognize the fact that this time last year we were a primarily counter-attacking side, and in 12 months we are primarily the side who is more dominant on the ball, who are scoring more goals. So I see progress. We may not win the title. It's likely that we will not win the title this season, but we should keep doing what we are doing, and we should keep adding to our squad depth, and things might be better next season.
Completely agree with you. I feel even the weather was not to our liking, right? At the end, in the second half, I could see literally lot of wind, lot of rain, and yeah, these players who have done so well till this season, till this point, I think as fans we need to support them because they have made big strides. We are going to be disappointed because we want to win that title. Good thing for us is Liverpool has dropped another 3 points, so at
Yeah.
least we take solace in that Liverpool is likely not to win that regained or continue win the second one.
Yeah.
So yeah,
The
I'm happy with that at the moment. I'm happy probably if City wins at the end of the day.
the other disappointing thing about the last 10 days was Bruno Fernandes has scored two world class goals. So
Right.
the first chip or the shot from the edge of the box, that was comparable to a Beckham or a Cantona kind of goal. And today's goal that he scored against West Brom was comparable to your Zidane's left foot or wrong foot volley in a Champions League final against Leverkusen, which was I mean, comparisons to two great goals with two great players. But the fact is, we will not remember these goals because United did not take 3 points. In the other two occasions, United had whoever the scorer was came up on the victorious side, and thus the goals were had even more value. But yeah, unfortunate to drop points despite seeing two amazing goals in the last 10 days from Bruno.
I'll quickly ask you a question. Like, would there be anything that you could have done differently in today's game?
I think very early on, we could see that we did not need a double pivot in this game. Far too many times, McTominay and Fred were getting the ball and had no one to pass to in the front, and they ended up passing sideways to the fullbacks. I think at halftime we could have switched it over. I think Bruno needed more support connecting the defense and attack. So I would have switched it to a 4-3-3 with a single pivot. Either one option was to keep McTominay as the defensive midfielder, supporting the defenders, and put Van der Beek instead of Fred, and provided Bruno more support there. Or the other option was McTominay has been at the edge of the box and scoring goals. So the other option was to take Matic or put Matic in the defensive midfielder position and push McTominay closer to Bruno. We did not need to have two defensive midfielders lying on the halfway line for most of the game. We could have pushed forward a little. I think Rashford on the right hand side was clearly not working. He has a good cross on him, but it takes away his lethal shot from his right hand side. A couple of times he was in shooting positions, but he did not trust his own left foot, and that's why we could not get a shot away. I think Greenwood is a much better fit on that right hand side, so we could have switched a couple of things up very early on.
Yeah, I was going to ask you that. One of the things that I've seen Rashford on the right in some of the games. Like, so barring this game, obviously his performance wasn't that great, like unlike what we expected him to do. But do you think he can make that right side position his own, or do you think we are wasting him there?
A bit of both, I think. So I think he can play on the right hand side if we can have someone firing on the left hand side. It becomes evident that it's not his preferred position when we have someone who is out of form playing on the left hand side. So effectively, you have someone in Martial who is not doing well on the left hand side, and then to fit Martial in, you're putting Rashford on the right, who is, let's say, 80% as effective on the right as compared to the left. So then we are sacrificing on two positions. If Martial was going all guns blazing, if he was giving 100% and scoring goals, I don't see that being a big challenge putting Rashford on the right, because I've seen that get the best out of Wan-Bissaka going forward as well. So they team up better. I think Wan-Bissaka has played more attacking football with Rashford on the right than anyone else on that right hand side. So there is something to be gained there, but not when your left side becomes weaker. Not putting Rashford in there.
Yep, that point about Wan-Bissaka with Rashford alongside him, he's attacking more. Even it is also a sign the opponent sits back more on that side. So it's a good sign with Amad Diallo doing well in the under 23s. Who knows, like if we eventually end up getting Sancho or whatever happens, I think if we get a proper right-sided player, or if Rashford can make that place, yeah, we might see that attacking intent and more goals and assists from Wan-Bissaka, what we actually want him to do more at the end of the day. So,
and great that you bring the under 23 side and our reserve team performances. Right. I can't wait for our Europa League game, not because of the quality of opposition or the fact that we are in Europa League playing on Thursdays, but more because I feel that is an opportunity for Diallo, for Shortire, for Hugill, and Majibri, Hannibal. If we can get some game time for these four players in the Europa League, I think that will be better for our squad going into the summer, where we need to take a call whether we need to add to our attacking positions, or whether we need to focus more on the defensive midfielder and the centre back positions. I feel in the far too many times, I think in the last 8 or 10 games, we have seen Juan Mata and Dan James on the bench, and clearly Solskjaer has no confidence in them in bringing them on and changing the game. So practically we are wasting two attacking positions off the bench and not utilizing them. So I would rather test these young guys out and see if they do well in the Europa League. Maybe we have some attacking options, and just give that unpredictability in our attack from the bench. That's what practically happened to Greenwood. He was a relatively unknown entity last time, this time of the year. He came in, he was the defenders did not know whether he was a right footer, left footer, and he saw a lot of joy there because of the unpredictability. If we can give Diallo, Hannibal, Hugill, and Shortire a go for 15-20 minutes, or maybe even 10 minutes at the end of the game, I think that can be a good introduction rather than wasting a couple of spots on the bench for players who we are definitely not going to use.
Yeah. You did mention 15-20 minutes or even 10 minutes. So are you saying we should not start with them in the Europa and probably play with the same or a very similar lineup in the Europa League?
I would not throw in all four of them in the starting lineup. I think we have to be careful in how we introduce them in our first team. I feel that maybe one of them can be in the starting lineup, and most likely it will be Ahmad. But I think one of them should make the starting lineup, and in the Europa League we'll have five substitutions. So we should pack our bench with youngsters and try to give them as much opportunities as possible in the Europa League. See how they react to to playing with the first team in high pressure games, and if they do well, then extend their introduction or keep some of them on the bench on the Premier League games as well.
Yeah, like as you said, like hopefully, even though it seems like Solskjaer doesn't have enough confidence in Mata and James in the Premier League, hopefully they get the chance. They are the ones to start and actually deliver some results that we are looking for. But one area that I'm worried about is actually the right back position, and I really hope either Brandon Williams starts the Europa League games or someone else does. I know Ethan Laird is on loan, so he's not definitely not an option. So I'm wondering whether Solskjaer will again go with Wan Bissaka, and I'm afraid we might get him badly injured. Just the sheer amount of load he's being put under. So I don't know. What do you think? Like, uh, should he continue with Wan Bissaka, or what are your thoughts? Do you have any suggestions that we should be going with?
No, Brandon Williams should play every Europa League game on the right hand side. And if he is not, if Solskjaer doesn't have enough confidence in him, then put Axel on the right hand side. But Wan Bissaka needs rest. You're absolutely right. Shaw is doing well on the other side on the left because there is some respite for him. Alex Telles, although Telles has not played brilliantly. He at least gives him an opportunity to rotate the squad, give Shaw some much needed rest, and also indicate to Shaw that if Telles does well in the minutes that he gets, then his first team spot is also up for grabs. That keeps him motivated on the left hand side. We need something similar on the right hand side as well, and I'm hoping that Brandon Williams gets some game time in the Europa League.
Cool. Let's see how we do. I'm really keen, just as you are, to see what lineup Solskjaer chooses, because playing games on a Thursday and then again on a Saturday or even a Sunday will be tough for us. Yeah. But switching topics here, Upamecano. So he has been in the news, not necessarily linked with us, but as fans, we have wanted him to be our prime transfer target, given the struggles we have seen in that centre back position. He has been confirmed as signed by Bayern. Even their sporting director has confirmed that. Fabrizio has confirmed that. So that deal is done. What are your thoughts? Did we miss out on a great player, or there is still plenty of fish in the market?
Upamecano had a lot of good attributes, or he has a lot of good attributes. He is fast, he's physical, he's good on the ball. He has a lot of good attributes. He would have added another dimension to the United defense, no question about that. But I don't think he was a perfect fit for United. We looked at some stats early on, and you can put the link in the video description. But one of the things that we found out that Upamecano has a mistake in him, and his position conceded. And that leading to goals, that key metric was the highest in the centre backs that we compared him against. So with Upamecano in the Premier League, we would have seen him getting dispossessed a couple of times and that leading to goals. So and I'm not saying that would have certainly happened, or he would have been a bad signing, but he would have had to learn quite a bit. And coming into the Premier League, I don't think he would have had the instant impact like Bruno in his first season. He would have been a good signing, but I think Bayern have got a good player. He has the German league experience. They were always the favorites. So good luck to him.
Yeah. Now we're being linked to Konate, his partner in actually at Leipzig. I haven't seen much of him. I have played you. I have bought him in FIFA, but do you know a bit more about him?
Um, Konate and Upamecano. So one thing that Leipzig do is they play a very very high line. So and a lot of goals that they concede because of that, and the goals that United scored against Leipzig when we played them were catching their centre backs very high up and using pace against them. So uh, and that those are one of the typical goals that they concede, and that's also the reason why I don't think Upamecano would have been an instant impact at United, and Konate also has to share that same responsibility. We need someone. So when Eric Bailly is fit, I think when he plays next to Maguire, United can afford to go at least 5 to 10 yards up the field because of his pace. And I don't think either Konate or Upamecano is as quick. We probably need to look at other options who are quicker, more physical, and better on the ball. I'm sure there are other options out there.
Okay, so the last thing as we close the video, City's form. Until 6 weeks ago, or slightly just more than that, I think all the pundits had written them off. They had said that this is not the same City team because they were not scoring too many goals. They had initially conceded goals at the very beginning, and they were like winning 1-0, 2-0 kind of games. Um, they are currently rampant at the moment with Gundogan spearheading that particular attack. I've also seen they've just conceded 14 goals in total in the Premier League.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, what do you think about their form? Any thoughts?
I would have loved to come here and talk about Liverpool's form, but unfortunately, the question is about City. Yeah.
Compare with the best.
Yeah. So no, it's been a transformation. So when Pep Guardiola was given a new contract, they were having played a couple of games less than the rest of the pack. They were, I think, eighth or ninth, and they were 6 or 9 points behind Liverpool, who were at the top of the table then. And United were ahead of City at that point. So to go from that and having a leaky defense and not being able to score goals to now turning into an unstoppable machine, the turnaround is quite remarkable, and they're doing it without De Bruyne and Aguero, which is, I mean, I think they're going to run away with the league unless this is just a purple patch they've hit, and eventually they start dropping points, which is unlikely, to be honest. But yeah, Ruben Diaz has come in and transformed their defense. John Stones a few months ago was a laughing stock. He was the most expensive centre back flop in the English history, probably behind Maguire. I'm kidding about that, but yeah, he was the English centre back flop, the template. But he has picked up and he has played really well next to Ruben Diaz. I think Diaz was the player that could have probably partnered Maguire at United and been that Van Dijk type of signing for us. But if only Glazers had some intent of winning things.
He actually plays on that left centre back in the left centre back position.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would have actually fit perfectly. But interesting to see like how Guardiola's players. I think that's just the special quality of Guardiola. Like he mentioned, Gundogan. That Gundogan can also play as a false number 9, which he's practically doing because I'm seeing him score goals very close to the 6-yard box. So any of his player, whichever player you bring in, whether you have a striker or not, he is figuring out ways to score goals. So that's good to see as a fan, as a neutral fan, but not as a Manchester United fan. It's just disheartening to see because we talk about we need a specialist in an area, right? That is what we are craving for, but we are then seeing City's players adapting to different situations and still doing that. I think it's down to the manager. So I'm I'm happy to see Guardiola still at City. It's good thing that he extended his contract. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll have some solid competition and really big steps to work towards to really reach a good level.
City, having said that, City have a tough, I think, a tough second half of February, first week of March, where Champions League games will come thick and fast. They'll be playing 2, 3 games, and they also have a couple of games in hand, so or a game in hand. So their games are going to come thick and fast, and you might see them dropping a few points.
Yeah.
City's next 6 games are not very easy, and now that we are moving to playing 2, 3 games a week, um, we can expect them to drop points. I think everyone is going to drop points in March and April. Just that how many points can you salvage? How many squeaky wins that you get? How many draws that you eke out instead of dropping 3 points? That's going to be the deciding factor. And that's exactly what happened to United over the last 4 games. All the points that we have dropped were from either from winning situations or just carelessness or fine margins. It was not that we were outplayed and outclassed and we are down in the dumps and we don't have great form. It's just the final finish that's missing, or the final the final game management to close out games and keep our cool head. That's the only difference for the last 4, 5 games, and that might be down to fatigue. So watch out for City's next 5. If they carry on their form, then they're running away with the title.
Right. Completely agree. So that's it from us, guys. That was a weekly recap. Do let us know what you think about the content. Do drop us a like and share. And yeah, thank you. Bye bye.
Bye.